welcome back. So if you have not listened to the August 1st podcast, you should give that a listen. That'll be out on YouTube and as well as wherever you can listen to podcasts. But we're talking about the month of August, the energies of August, and this is the pick a card reading that goes with it. These are not the cards that we're picking from. I wanted to show you a little visual for what I was talking about on the podcast, how we're moving from Leo to Virgo in the month of August. Leo is represented by the Strength card in the Major Arcana, and the Hermit is Virgo energy. And I was saying how I drew a line from Strength to the Hermit, or from Leo to Virgo, and on that line I had drawn a little stick person who was kind of whistling as they moved from point A to point B. And as I was pulling out these cards, I was like, oh my God, that's the Fool. Obviously, just carefree, moving from point A to point B, trusting the process and letting it be. So this is kind of our visual if you want to create a spread for yourself of the month of August of how we're moving. I do encourage that. And if you want any support on that, we meet once a month virtually in holding space, and we talk about tarot and spreads and best practices for this kind of work. So I'm going to show you the cards that are on offer for our reading now. Actually, let's keep this in the background. Sorry, this is a different setup. We're traveling. Okay, so we have integration. We have 3 of Earth. And we have 6 of Air, clarity. So I'll read you the descriptions of each so you can decide which reading is best for you. So card 1 is integration. And that is just when it seems that everything has come to a standstill, the forces of transformation are most active. Just when it seems that everything has come to a standstill, the forces of transformation are most active. And then we have 3 of Earth. Everything you touch will turn out well if you just stay focused now. Everything you touch will turn out well if you just stay focused now. And then 6 of Air, clarity. Once you have stopped struggling with yourself, harmony and wisdom prevail. Once you have stopped struggling with yourself, harmony and wisdom prevail. Confidently express your preferences without becoming manipulative. Confidently express your preferences without becoming manipulative. And I'll see you in your pick-a-pile. All right, pile number 1 is integration, so aka temperance, which is also the card of Sagittarius in the Major Arcana. So taking a deep breath and focusing on the imagery, allowing yourself to call all of your energy back. And taking just a moment to think about where you've been, where you're going. Maybe taking note of all of the people and things that are requiring your attention right now and your time. And take inventory. I feel like for this group, there is a relationship dynamic that I'm not saying you've outgrown the relationship, but I'm feeling as if you've outgrown the way that you are in relationship with this person or this group of people, if that makes sense. And it's hard to navigate because there's an expectation with the past that you always stay the same. And when you begin to change, it makes the people around you extremely uncomfortable because the dynamic that they're comfortable with and used to is no longer relevant, and you have to learn to interact with each other differently. When I was in therapy, and having a really hard time with family dynamics. She had told me that there are only so many roles, let's call them 5. I don't know if this is the exact number. And then she listed them all out that each member in the family represents. So you can represent more than one of these. You can be a combination of a few. One person can be really strong in one role. And when someone changes and evolves or no longer wishes to maintain that role, then the entire dynamic has to change, even if no one says anything. Like, even you just working on yourself, wanting to show up better or different or more confidently or more loving, changes the dynamic for everyone. That this isn't like a solo journey. Even though it is a journey of the self, we are still in relationship with those around us. And so as you shift and change, the world and how you interact with it shifts and changes as well, which can be a little unsettling, unstabilizing. And I love this analogy. I have used it for years. It's like you have this outfit that you bought that's very different than anything you've worn before, and you put it on, and when you're inside of your house, you just feel amazing. You're like, this is me. I fucking love this fit. And then you go outside to interact with other people, which it took you a while to determine the perfect event to wear this outfit to. And all of a sudden, when you're in front of people who are not used to seeing you dressed this way, you feel small and you're questioning your choice to wear this outfit, and you were wishing you would have, like you're still getting used to wearing it publicly or in relation to other people. And that's kind of what this feels like. And I think it's safe and fair to be really gentle with yourself and to take your time and to acknowledge that it may be more exhausting to be around others, especially the specific dynamic right now. And maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can. I feel like for some of you, you're kind of in this hibernation mode where you really are wanting to spend a lot of time alone or just with your immediate family, and that's perfectly okay. I think it's important to not become reclusive, to make sure that you're still practicing like you're exercising those social muscles. But you might also learn in this time that there are people that just don't fit anymore. Like, the people who love you have to be soft and open and willing to respect your evolution, because we want that for everyone. And I think it's also important to keep in mind that you might be knowing other people who are experiencing the same thing, and you might be the one holding them hostage to your expectation of how they've always shown up. And maybe they're flexing some different social muscles or skills and learning how to be a different person in relationship to you. And I think a lot of this happens on a subconscious level. It's not something we're always aware of. In this community, we have some kind of language to put to it, but also when you are so used to being in relationship with someone one way or the other, when they start showing up differently, you're like, what the fuck's going on with you? What is happening? Who are you? Like, when someone decides to stop drinking or maybe stop talking as much shit, you might notice the conversation feels a little different because you have to change the way you interact with each other. And I actually pulled out the death card too, because temperance comes after the death card. And so if we're moving through the 3 lines of the major arcana, moving through the Fool's journey, temperance comes after death. Temperance comes after a loss of some kind, a letting go of some kind. Temperance is learning to be in the world, in this physical existence, and in the spiritual, in the divine. So how does this sit for you? How does this feel for you? Peace out, pile number 1. Pile number 2 is 3 of Earth, or 3 of Pentacles. And what I love about this practice I have of pulling, let me make sure my mic's on, of working with different decks, is that sometimes a card just doesn't, like, I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. And often when I see Three of Pentacles, even though it really does seem so simple, it never just sits right with me. And maybe that's because when it comes to projects and all, I both love working with other people and I don't. I have a fairly strong personality and vision of how things should go. And when I get really excited, I do tend to take up a lot of space, which I don't think there's anything wrong with, but I'm learning to be cooperative and open and recognizing the way we can all contribute to bring something to life. And I feel like that is the message here. I think there's also a message of being really mindful of who. So the quote from this card is, everything you touch will turn out well if you just stay focused now. I see this moment of panic for some of you, of wanting to abandon ship or cry for help when it's really not necessary. Yes, this is the card of asking for help when you need it. I also feel like this is a card of knowing what kind of help you need to ask for and not giving away your power in a situation. And the message I keep getting is, be careful who touches what it is you're working on. And for some of you, this is even like I said in the podcast episode, the Three of Earth card is also a card of pregnancy and birthing something new into the world. And I think there's an element here too of protection. Like, who are you interacting with? Who are you allowing to influence your thoughts, your projects, your offspring, your home? I'm like seeing this visual of everyone having some form of magic and energy in their fingertips. And if you know that you have this plant that's growing, and everyone who touches it leaves something with it, implants something onto it, who would you let touch this new growth? Who would you let put their hands in the soil and be a part of the process? I bet there are people that you would build a fence around this garden to keep out. And I bet that there are people who you would open the gate for, welcome them into your garden, and they would be so reverent of your space and what it is you're creating. Ask questions before touching, being very generous with their time and energy, and very intentional about the advice and feedback that they bring to the space. And I think it's fair to ask too, when you're in someone else's space, around someone else's project or growth, how are you nurturing them? What is your magic that you bring to the table? And notice how it differs from person to person. Some people there's a lot of love and support for. Some people you're constantly aggravated with, and it's hard to be nice. So just being mindful of how you influence the energy of those around you as well. All right, pile number 2. Short and sweet. Peace out. Pile number 3, 6 of air, clarity. I really love this depiction of the dream catcher. And both of these images are very, very different, I would say. Once you have stopped struggling with yourself, harmony and wisdom will prevail. Confidently express your preferences without becoming manipulative. I think so much of this is about language and dialogue, especially with yourself. I'm seeing the center of this dream catcher as the third eye, and wondering where the lenses of which you perceive the world and yourself have come from. I think there are lenses that kind of protect our psychic space. There's a card in a deck that I love that talks about, like, my gifts come to me in timing that is perfect and appropriate. And it talks about how if you had all of your gifts and all of this clear perception at one time, you'd probably lose your mind. You'd be seeing through walls, reading people's thoughts, being able to fly, have like go-go gadget arms and all this at one time. You would be like, what in the actual fuck is happening to me? And so we're blessed with clarity and wisdom and insight in perfect divine time. And I feel like you in this group are in this moment of clarity and seeing something very specifically clearly, or maybe noticing, especially if you listen to the August podcast, ways in which you are not very kind to yourself and don't support this narrative of success and worthiness whenever you are speaking to yourself, or maybe other people. And the traditional depiction of Six of Swords is another card that's very tricky for me, because it's a card of, we're talking about swords, so we're talking about intellect and the mind and communication and gathering knowledge and wisdom and learning how to use our words. And this card is so much water, despite us talking about the element of air. They're moving very slowly, and it looks like very sadly away from something. And so is there something that you are moving away from? And I feel like these six swords that are with them are meant to be protection. Maybe it's the best of their language and their ability to cut through bullshit and kind of leaving the things that are distracting or harmful behind, and recognizing that who they have left those swords behind with no longer serves. And I see this person kind of standing on the shore with all of these hurtful swords and not being ready to let them go either, and being in this place of anger and resentment and not being able to understand your need to move away. And I feel like the people who are with you are so very loving and patient and kind. And I especially feel like one individual in particular, to me, it's the person who's rowing this boat, is someone whose job is literally just to get you to the other side safely and lovingly. And then their job is to continue doing that for other people. And I feel like the message is not to get too attached to this particular individual, to trust the relationship for what it is and to willingly let it go when it's time that they served their purpose. Pile number 3. I love you guys. Peace out.